Let's find out what's happening in the city. Darshini's standing by.
Thanks, Kay. Well, we're going to talk about our shopping habits in just a minute. But first of all, the bad news. People born in the 60s and 70s are likely to be worse off in retirement than their parents unless they receive inherited wealth. A report from the Institute for Fiscal Studies finds that children from these decades are less likely to own a property, will have smaller private pensions and have no more savings income than their predecessors.
Well, one positive it's worth pointing out is that we have seen in recent decades a rapid improvement in living standards during retirement. I mean, part of what we're seeing here is that we've seen a very rapid increase across generations in how well off people are during retirement, and that's now coming to a halt. But it is a very positive thing that there is a lot less pensioner poverty around now than there used to be. We used to have very, very high rates of pensioner poverty and of low living standards in old age, and that has largely come to an end.
And the pharmaceuticals giant GSK is to stop paying doctors around the world to promote its products. The UK drugs company says it's taking the initiative in an attempt to improve transparency within the industry and ensure patients' interests come first. GSK will also cease to pay healthcare professionals for attending medical conferences and rethink sales targets and bonuses. The drugs company is facing a bribery investigation in China. Better news on inflation. It's at a 4-year low thanks to an easing in the price of food. Consumer prices inflation slipped to 2.1% in November, but the effects of those recent energy bill hikes have yet to feed through in full. But with prices still rising faster than wages, the squeeze on our real incomes continues. The alternative measure of retail price inflation was unchanged at 2.6%. And with those Christmas budgets maybe feeling the pinch, it seems that more than half of Britain's households have shopped in one of the discount supermarkets. Research from Kantar World Panel shows Aldi now has a 4% share of our grocery market. It's increased its share in every 12-week period since the end of 2010. Lidl hit a record share of 3.1% over the summer, and look, still there. Kantar says that both Aldi and Lidl have seen double-digit sales growth over the last year, with Aldi predicted to overtake Waitrose in 12 months' time. Well, joining me now is Chris Longbottom, who's director at Kantar World Panel, and good to have you here. It's quite eye-catching, this, but you say that more than half of us have set foot in one of these discount supermarkets in the period you've been looking at. Have we just popped in out of curiosity, or are we doing the weekly shop there?
We may have started that some years ago, but yes, over the last 12 weeks, about more than half of us have gone in there, and increasingly we're spending more money there. What's interesting about the discounters, about Aldi and Lidl, is we tend to do what we call secondary shopping there. So if we think about it, for all of us, mostly, we do a main shop towards the weekend at one of the big supermarket chains, and then we do top-up shopping at other times of the week.
So we see the big four retailers, big four supermarkets, appear to be having their share eaten into. Do they see these discounters as a serious threat? They don't seem to be responding, really. I
think they do. If they didn't, they should. But there's certainly a challenge for their dominance of the grocery market. What's happened with the discounters is they've sort of crept up a little bit from behind, but it is regular growth and regular progress that they've seen. And as I was saying, you shop there maybe a little bit earlier in the week or towards the weekend after you've done your main shop. And what happens is every time we're going in there, we think we're just putting a little bit more into those secondary trolleys, those secondary baskets, those secondary shop-up trips that we're doing. And gradually, the amount that we put in there is eating into the amount that we actually spend with the major multiples.
And looking at the bigger picture there, because, of course, we talked about Waitrose briefly and also Iceland on the other end of the scale, can you get an overriding message that comes out from your figures in terms of what we're looking for as shoppers?
I think we have been shopping around a little bit more. Our figures suggest that we're not necessarily doing that in massive additional proportions anymore, but we're just tilting the seesaw is the way that we see it. And it's the major multiples. If you like, if you're number one and number two and number three, you've got a bit more to lose than if you're one of the tiddlers, you know, that's coming up from behind the marketplace. But they're not tiddlers anymore. They're
not, and you've only got to look at that war of the Christmas ads to see exactly how bitter this war has become. Chris, it's great to talk to you. Thank you. Elsewhere on the high street, Dixons has beaten the trend and the competition thanks to the sales of tablet computers. Europe's second largest electrical retailer and the owner of Currys and PC World saw underlying pre-tax profits double to £30.2 million in the 6 months to the end of October. Like-for-like sales in the UK and Ireland were up by 9%. It's been quite a turnaround in the share price too. Despite, as you can see there, a bit of an easing off today, it's up around 70% on the year. Facebook say that they're testing video ads that will show up in the news feeds of some of its users. The social media giant says it's not currently selling video ads, but they could significantly boost future revenues. If we just take a look at the share price on the back of that, up by close to 2%. However, the market overall here in London not faring quite as well. We had those inflation figures out early in the day. Market's not really recovering from that. We are awaiting words from Mark Carney, the Governor of the Bank of England, who will be talking to the House of Lords Economics Committee this afternoon. The main European markets, they too feeling a little bit glum as we head towards the close. And in New York, the Dow Jones opened just about positive, just hanging on to those gains, really not much more, pretty flat. I'll have more for you in the next hour, but do take a look at our website, skynews.com/business. Okay.